welcome to the June 25th Linguistics You Can Use live stream. My name is Saunatina, and today we are going to look at a few different things going on in linguistics, which is, goes back a long time. So, it's current, contemporary, and historical at the same time, as is linguistics. All right, so to get started, first, let us see. We have linguistics news. What's up in linguistics news? That's right, new-ish segment. I mean, almost all of these are new segments because this is, kind of a new broadcast, and I'm making it up as I go along. Anyway, today I thought we would look at an article from actually 2011, and it is called Darwin's Tongues by Bruce Bauer, and it was published in Science News. So I got a copy from the library, and let's go ahead and check that out. So, Darwin's Tongues by Bruce Bauer, as you can see. It deals with sorry, got a little distracted. So, we have a debate going on in linguistics, which is almost always the case, because as most most professions, most academic disciplines, you will find, tend to plant their flag in the sand around topics like what did languages all start in one place and, change as we moved around the world? Or did language kind of independently come up through human migration after we started to leave Africa? So I'm of the first train of thought. I think that we as humans, once, we started, telling each other stories in, Southwest Africa. I believe that was where the current consensus is, which essentially this paper goes through, I believe. Where the languages of humanity originated. This paper says that, much like evolution, we can trace linguistics through the DNA of language change, right? So it's only been recently, right, in our big data world, that we've been able to run these kinds of equations on language. So if you're not familiar with the theories of linguistics or language development, basically languages all belong to certain families currently. We can only trace back to about 10,000 years. Before that point, the influence of culture and just general chaos of how language changes makes it impossible to go deeper into our past by examining the languages that currently exist. So we have currently about 5, 6-ish families, and I'm not all up to date on the, that area of, the academia. So I'm not quite, all of my stuff is go look it up. You have, internet because you're watching me. So, so anyway, we have, most people have heard of Proto-Indo-European, but we also have Uto-Aztecan, which, as you might imagine, is the language family that is in the the North American continent. So, you know, Aztec, Udo comes from the Paiute, I believe, in the southwest United States, but that it could be also very wrong. It comes from, though, a language group that extends basically around the the western part of the North American continent, and then you know you have the Mayan family, I believe. There's the Bantu and something language in Africa, you know. So and Asia Pacific, which is obviously Astro-Pacific, Astro-Asian, Asian, yeah, that down in the southeast, well, Southeast Asia and Australia. Oh, and then we have Pacifica. That's right. The Pacifica is also a language family. As you see, there are language families. I believe there's also one up in the Caucasus, up in the north, or is that Proto-Indo-European? I think Russian goes into Proto-Indo-European. There are language families, and we can only go back so far to figure out where, you know, what the, you know, family groups come from. Where we can only group these amount of families or these amount of languages, because before that point, as I said, the chaos of how language changes becomes it becomes impossible for us to track change past that point. But this paper is telling us that we can use data of sound changes, or not sound changes. Well, yes, sound changes, but a specific kind of sound change. So I just scrolled to it. So basically, all of the 504 languages that this data scientist did, and this is 2011, right? Not sure if there's been follow-up studies done quite like this, but linguistics, the 2011 seems recent in linguistics. Anyway, this scientist, Atkinson, said that based on the 504 sounds that the language, or 504 languages, the sounds of those languages, the sounds that they make, the complexity of the sounds used in those languages have diminished based on how far away it is from the original language, the first language, as it were. So, because languages on the African continent have more sounds than any other language group in the world, then this paper traces the creation of language and language's expansion from this point, as it says here, about 160,000 to 80,000 years ago. And as I said earlier, through doing kind of etymological studies, we can only do tracing back about 10,000 years. So, this is neat. And as they say, they use the 160, long range, because when the anthropologists have assumed, once we started trading things, once we started valuing abstract things like seashell necklaces, engraved pigment chunks, symbolic items, that was when kind of humans started developing humanity, being, thoughtful and language. And now we get into the wait a second. No. Because Atkinson isn't a linguist. He is just a data scientist. So linguists are now discussing this and saying, it's not that we are against Atkinson's methodology or, anything like that. It's just, he's not a linguist, and we linguists do things certain ways for a reason. So, he should consult us and, talk to us about our ideas about how language works. So basically, they are like, well, there's some like debate because here we have, I did not look up how to pronounce this name, and that's a person who like specializes in pronunciation. I gotta work on that. Anyway, Sisu's team, they corrected for, as it says, the way that linguists analyze language based on the weight given to vowel tones, consonant changes, and all of these different sounds. And in their analysis, they found the phoneme heavy tongues in North America, languages of West Africa, New Guinea, and Australia contain the fewest sounds. So kind of throws a wrench in Atkinson's theory, because if we know for a fact, right, humanity originated in Africa, and the Americas were some of the last places colonized by our species, so settled and, searched through. Anyway, then, yeah, the North American continent shouldn't have the most diverse amount of phonemes. And, yeah, other linguists are like, yeah, we think that's valid criticism. We think that this guy gotta, talk to us linguists. So, this is a very fun paper to read if you're interested in linguistic debate and linguistic theory and the study of where language comes from. Oh, here we go. Oh, I did read. So, well, this one says 4 major language families, but I'm fairly certain the last time I read on, I was researching this in Wikipedia, which was like yesterday, but memory, it's hazy. Austronesian, Bantu, Indo-European, Uto-Aztecan. I know there are others now, I believe. Anyway, yeah. So they've done an analysis and found that we can't determine the features that Atkinson used to, say that this is the way that language branched off from each other. And yeah, another thing that I enjoyed reading about this paper was this line about this finding indicates, there we go. This finding indicates that different cultures come up with their own quite sensible word order rules. So it says evolutionary biologist Mark Pagel of the University of Reading in England, a pioneer of phylogenetic studies of language. So here we have an evolutionary biologist who incorporates linguistics into his work, or a linguist that incorporates evolutionary biologist into his work. Linguists are everywhere. That's actually a thing that really jumped out at me about this paper. You can connect linguistics to just about every field in humanity, right? And that is primarily because as humans, we are set apart by our language, right? We are the speaking ape, the speaking ape, or apes. And so every aspect of our existence is influenced and influences language, right? So our biology there are studies now being done that look at how the certain areas in the brain. Oh, this brings up another source that I was going to talk about today. So let me make sure. So, this is the quote of the day. Languages are beasts. Even best studied ones have secrets. And it is. The chaos of language change is pretty much the only constant of language. And so that does bring me to the one of the books that I was going to share today. I'm trying to remember which. I can't remember if it was. I think it was this one. Haha. All right, we're on to the books. So this one is a bit more modern, actually. This is the most recent of the books that we're checking out today, and as is my, Lou, I got it from the library. So Language Unlimited. You can see it in my hands and on the screen. Fun with cameras. So Language Unlimited goes into how the structures of our language are based on very limited principles. And this comes back to our brain. So there are neurolinguists, and again, this goes back to, linguists are everywhere. So there are neurologists who specialize in studying how language works in our brain. And a study was done about how people can learn the structures of a real structure of a language, or a language that is basically made up, right? So in the study, and I can't remember, I didn't mark it, but basically the study was done with German speakers who were taught real real Japanese grammar or fake Japanese grammar. So I believe the thing that they were studying was like a negative pattern and a how do you put a negative in, and then I think they were like a random adjective, like insert a specific kind of word at the third word point. So like, I am blue. Like it's hard because, well, here's the thing. Here's the point. People were able to learn both kinds of structures. They were able to, the real one and the fake one. It was easier for them to learn the real rule, the negative rule, than it was for them to learn, like, insert this kind of word at this point in the sentence or in the phrase, right? So they were teaching these people while they were also, of course, scanning their brains, because these are neurologists, so, they do brain scans with people. And the result was the real rule, the actual rule of Japanese was being activated in Broca's area, which is right around here in our brain. It's like right up, like in front of our left ear, right above and in front of our left ear. So that's where the brain was working. That was like all of the mental activity, the neurons and all that stuff were working on the puzzle of learning the rule, the real Japanese rule, grammar rule. Yeah, Broca's area was working on it. The area we expected to see. The fake rule, the rule that the linguists made up for the study, was being activated in some other part of the brain. And I can't remember what it is because, I mean, I know Broca's area because I'm a linguist, but I don't know other areas of the brain because I'm not a neurologist or a brain scientist. Well, again, I guess I'm a mind scientist, kind of a brain scientist. Anyway, but it shows that our capacity for language, our capacity for creating language in an infinite combination potentially goes to something in our actual physical biology, the structure of our brain. And that's why a lot of the other animals of existence haven't been able to create the language, the complex, infinite, language that humans are able to. And because we all have limited amounts of sounds we can make. Humans, we can't make some bird sounds, dolphin sounds, all of these things, right? We have to have machines try to recreate those for us. So it doesn't make sense that another species shouldn't be able to combine the sounds in its, sound bank into an infinite combination the way that we do, but they don't. And the way this book brings up Chomsky's theory of universal grammar, because, of course, but it presents a thing that I think a lot of people haven't heard yet about the theory, which is called merge. And this is how we all create language. Every single language in the world uses this structure and then it combines the details in a different way. And it's basically, every merging is, boxes within boxes. Kind of like Ouroboros, if a snake eating its tail, right? The infinity symbol. Well, the infinity symbol. I guess there's a reason that he, used this symbol of infinity to describe the language that we are able to, share. But yeah, so yeah, it's too tough to see from where it is, but basically the theory that we have, we are able to combine concepts, not word order. We use word order because we have to speak in a linear fashion, right? We're not those aliens from Arrival. But our brains work it out as if it was that circular process, right? So, the way that our brains group words in a phrase varies based on the language, right? So in English, it's subject, object, verb. Subject, verb, object. I walk. No, subject, object, verb. I go walking. No. You, me. Grammar is not my thing. I do pronunciation. I do phonology for a reason. English has a structure that uses the merge pattern, but so does every other language, right? So, French has a, object, subject, verb order. No, I think that's Japanese, actually. Yeah, Japanese is subject, object, verb. Or I think it's subject, verb, object. Actually, I think verb is usually in the middle. I should know this. This is basic grammar. This is basic linguistics. When you're doing a whole show and you don't take detailed notes for yourself, your brain can go all over the place. But What was I going to say? Okay, so language unlimited, right? So that brings us back to, it brings us to the idea of how different languages make us think differently, right? That's an adage, or a what's it called? A truism, a folk knowledge that people assume that people think that because we speak different languages, it influences the way we think about the world. And this book says, maybe not. So we have John McWhorter's The Language Hoax, and it's I am glad that I was exposed to this, because I, even up until I read this book, was of that opinion that different languages have a big impact on the way we think. And reading this was actually the first book of the 3 that I'm discussing today. This was the first book that I read of these, and it was so interesting because it feels like this book was like, hey, what you think is wrong, and then the other 2 books I read were like, yeah, and here's why. So yeah, The Language Hoax, John McWhorter goes into a great analysis of why, we do have basically the same language. We all speak the same language in different, variations. We speak them in different, their flavors, right? And so, but like the merge concept, and going back to Chomsky's universal grammar, right? That merge structure is what binds all the languages of the world. So yeah, Russian does have 2 languages for blue, whereas English can combine, dark blue and light blue into one word, blue. Russian doesn't have that combo word. It just has light blue and dark blue. So that studies have been done where, Russian speakers will see the nuance of the color blue faster than English speakers. And yeah, like it has a superficial perspective. It gives us a superficial veneer of difference about how we speak language. But that's such a superficial aspect of what language really is. And the more that we focus on the differences, the less we can appreciate the aspects of the language that we share. And I think John McWhorter actually said that pretty well at the end. I think I actually did mark that because it was so good. No, I didn't. I marked a different section. But respect for humanity, yes. I did. The wonders of sameness. Yes. He's just such a great writer. So, yes, on the final paragraph of the book. So, if you're not going to read the book, that's fine. I think you should. It's a quick read. 167 pages, and it's tiny. It's like one of these, it's, I'm going to read it at the beach, really. And it actually does. It looks like a fun beach read. The cover does. So anyway, the final paragraph, which I really appreciated and I wanted to share. We are told that what languages teach us about being human is how different we are. Actually, language's lesson for us is more truly progressive, that our differences are variations on being the same. Many would consider that something to celebrate. And that little I had to make sure that I emphasized the right words in that final sentence. It goes to show you, right? The nuances, the details of language do matter. Culture matters. The way that we speak language connects us to our people, right? I have this particular way of speaking with my friends, and I have a particular way of speaking here, and I have a particular way of speaking in a work environment. But that way of speaking in work environments, it depends on the work environment. So, yeah, we have, different manners of speaking, but they're all just variations on the theme of human language. And that brings us to our final exploration. What is it? What am I calling it? Library. Exploration of the library. The linguistic books of the Seattle Public Library. We have Not Exactly, in praise of vagueness. And I just want to say, it's a thick tome, but he actually tells you, if you don't actually need to read 2 of the chapters in here. I did, because I am a logic nerd. Lewis Carroll, the guy who wrote Alice in Wonderland, wrote some treatise on logic, how teach yourself logic, basically. It's like logic for dummies back in the day. And so I was like, yes, I'm going to read this. And then I discovered that the Seattle Public Library did not have a copy, but the Tacoma Public Library did. So, thanks to the great interlibrary loan system, paid a couple of bucks to get that shipped up to our system, and enjoyed a little book on logic from Lewis Carroll. And it was, if you like logic, I think you're going to like it. Anyway, this book is the modern version of that. And it's really fun, I think. So, as you can see, I like logic. I don't know if you remember those puzzles that you had to be Juan is going to the store for oranges, but not for something else. And then Martha is going to the mall for something, but she's wearing polka dot, and you have to combine who's going to the mall and who's going to this grocery store and who's getting this and who's getting that. And those are some of my favorite puzzles, games to play, mind games. So logic is one of my fun activities. We all have weird hobbies. One of mine is logic. So in this book, Van Demeter goes into an exploration of why language is ultimately vague. We can never say what we really mean, because it's impossible to say what we really mean, because everybody has a different understanding of the world. We all have different perspectives, and so we use vagueness to connect the specifics in a way that trying to get very specific would kind of just muddle the situation. I made a lot of notes in here, but I made a lot of notes in here for other projects too, not just for this. There is, of course, a fine line to be drawn between commendable simplification and intolerable patronizing. Some books are meant to be read, not out loud necessarily. There is, of course, a fine line to be drawn between commendable simplification and intolerable patronizing. In many situations, the expression of bias is justifiable only if full, unbiased information is provided as well, but that's another matter. So, we have the issue that we need to make things vague enough that somebody doesn't overthink it, but specific enough that it's not mistaken. And that is the crux of conversation, right? So we have the need to get our point across without causing the other person to misinterpret what we are trying to get to them. And every conversation is a bit of a dance in that way. We all have our ways of communicating, right? As I said, going into this, we all have our what is called idiolect, right? We all speak in our individual language, and we speak it in different ways based on the environment that we're in. And because of that, terms overlap. And so we have vague ideas of them. They're specific to us, right? But we understand that these ideas are different, have different specifics for others. So we are constantly negotiating what we mean when we're speaking with one person versus another. And, for some people, the ease of communication comes naturally, right? People seem to have an understanding, their brains, their connections, their reference points match up enough that those instances of miscommunication are less frequent, and if they do happen, they're easily resolved. So, those are the kinds of relationships that, we are all aspiring to. They doesn't mean that those relationships are easy, right? It still takes work to have open and good communication with the people that you do feel comfortable having those conversations with. But it's easier, it's more enjoyable to spend time with those people than it is when you constantly feel like you are being misunderstood or you're misunderstanding someone else. Relationships take work in every capacity, right? No matter if they, like I said, are easy or they are difficult. And sometimes we don't have the option to disregard a difficult relationship, especially related to work circumstances, right? And this is usually where that conversation comes in. So, you have to work with somebody that doesn't like you. And you start to not necessarily like them because it feels like they're always, intentionally misinterpreting whatever it is you're talking about. And so, that's where this kind of, education comes in. When you have an understanding of how people use language, you're better able to facilitate conversations that might be more challenging or might be with more challenging people. So that is, I think, yeah. So not exactly in the praise of vagueness. It's just, like I said, I told you, one of my hobbies is doing those little logic puzzles for fun. So, you are, you can take under advisement what kind of book you think this is. But really, I feel like if you are into linguistic theory, this is going to be one of those that you really do enjoy reading. And that brings us to the next portion of our stream, which is a... Get that here. Just me for a second. So, yeah, I was realizing, I was like, I like playing games. Most people like watching games being streamed because nobody has enough time to play games on their own necessarily. So let's check out some games that deal with language. And so I went through Steam yesterday and just checked out a bunch of games. So if you think that, you know, there's a game that would be interesting for me to do a little playthrough of, let me know and I might check it out. But for now, today, we are playing a game called Coffee Time. Neat. I'm obviously, as you see, I'm doing some funness with the with my setup today, and so it's gonna. I'm you know, trying to make sure that the there we go. There we go. That looks better. All right, so you get to see my pen cases as we play today. All right, we're making a new profile. Ooh, that's right. Okay, so our name. Let's see. So if you have any suggestions about what I should be doing, let me know. I'm going to name my barista Holly. And yeah, her mom was really into that game, or that series. Yeah. All right, let's play the game. Seattle, 2020. A city of dreams and madness. A time when the great war between races is but a footnote in history. A time when anyone can dream of being whatever they want to be, and have those dreams crushed before they can even be discussed. All right, we're getting deep here. But still, it is a place and time where anything can happen. Oh no. Got a little bit of a... Oh, there we go. It is when the elves have left the forest to build their startups. When the dwarves have emerged from their caves to start their automotive empires. When the orcs have put down their axes and started using computers to improve their lives. And when humans live among them as driven as ever. It is a city that holds the many dreams and stories of its people. All right. Most of these stories are left untold, but some few find solace in the embrace of bricks and wood and glass. They are told over drinks, then take up residence in some stranger's memories. In one corner of the city stands a coffee shop, a place that is only open when the sun is sleeping, a place where people share their stories, and these are their stories. Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020. All right.